Check 1 2, check 1 2. Miami on the Rocks, Casey Chops. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at MIA on the Rocks. Follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Today's guest, got a homie in here, known him for a long time. Heavy in the music industry, came up big time. I got the homie Dyryk in here. What's up, bro?
KC.
You good? How you been?
Of course, man. I was just talking about you're a legend in this, in the city.
My brother. For the people that don't know, Dyryk, you are basically Kodak Black's main producer, right? Is it safe to say? And it seems like you do a little more than just produce his records. Like,
yeah, I mean, we've always been making beats, but I started engineering for him. That's how I was introduced to the guy. But he's got plenty of producers. We got, Dizzy, C-Clips, you know what I mean?
Right.
Zeus, we got so many, Chasm. All these guys collectively, man, we just all put stuff together.
You seem, correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be like very close with him as far as just.
Yeah, I mean, I started engineering for him right when we were putting Institution together. That project was like, what, 14, 15, 16, around that time, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that, to be honest, was like, I think, just the relationship between an engineer and an artist, you just naturally are going to grow really, really close. You know what I mean? Because it's not so much with the hours, but on top of that, it's the fact that you're like literally trying to put something together from fucking silence. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you guys are sitting in a room like quiet and
you got to learn how you guys work and shit.
But how he works. And I think that all off rip was just a way for me and him, he's a unique individual to get really close in all sorts of scenarios, but over the years, from him unfortunately going away and coming back home, it's man, he's my guy. Anything he needs, it's way bigger than music.
I was gonna say, from the conversations that me and you have had, it seems like you do more than just music. Is that like? Yeah, I mean, kind of like, would it say like you're the right hand kind of?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, between me, we have his brother, we have my other partner Gucci Poochie. It's like people like us.
Gucci Poochie. Yeah. Damn, I haven't heard that name in a minute.
No, he's our guy. Man.
I didn't even know he was attached to.
I mean, he's been around plenty of tours. Way before when we were putting Dying to Live together around that time. He'd come on the team and help us out. And he's someone that I respect, just because the history. You know what I mean? Of Boy and everything that they've done in the city, and you gotta like sometimes honor people that come before you and how they've been able to figure it out. So definitely we have. I like to say we have good people with good judgment around us to help really like guide things through, but I think the engineering and producing side definitely puts me in a position where I'm like, I spend a lot of hours with him, it doesn't even have to do with anything else sometimes without music. It's just, we coordinate how to hit the road together, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Or just, cars, hotels, security, just different things of how we want to move a camp. Yeah, no, I mean, we've hit the road, all year in the past, we did the first one was the Project Baby tour, and then it was a Dying to Live tour he had, and then after that, it's been, we've just been doing nonstop.
When did you meet him?
It was during Institution. I want to say it's 2015, 16.
Okay, like a 7, 8 year relationship.
2000. Yeah. No, for real. Yeah, it was.
Wow. So how did the beginnings of that relationship work, man? What was?
I started off at Circle House as an engineer, and I was there for like a good 3-4 years, and then I broke free, and I met a friend by the name of Brett Bailey, and we started the Pink House Studios.
I think I went there a long time ago. Is that the studio on the water?
Yes, it is.
That view was crazy.
No, that was around the time I was leaving Circle House, so I said to myself, like, man, I kind of see a little formula going on here when it comes to the studio world. Everyone just goes to where they can, hits the ceiling, and then some artist comes and just takes them away, and then they become their guy, you know what I mean, or their girl. But I don't know. I saw that studio and I thought to myself, like, man, let me just go build shop for myself. You know what I mean? And really close with Ben Billions, Lunch Money, and Lou Diaz. And then all three of us kind of just went to the Pink House and was like, you know what? Let's just set up shop here, put records together, made beats. It was like a constant circulating thing mixed with Brett. I was living there, me, him, and another person. And that's, I don't know, that together kind of build that momentum of like, this is what it's like to be a studio head, and just like kind of every day wake up, and just listen to what you did the previous night, and try to really piece records together. And like I was saying, shout out to Lunch. It's like he's an incredible writer. It is so useful as a producer to have someone to write to your shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you don't hear a beat, now you hear a song, and that is the biggest thing where I'm like, now, it gives you, just ideas of opportunities, and like we were just talking about, ways to shop records and pass things around. So it all kind of just like started really like stirring the pot faster and faster. And then, fast forward to like, 3-4 years, Lunch eventually got signed to Dr. Luke's publishing company, Prescription. Right. Ben went ahead and produced like Often, did a bunch of shit for The Weeknd, and Yo Gotti's down in the DM. Like, I think over time, you recognize patterns in things, and then just things click. You know what I mean? And you start having way better judgment than you did before.
Exactly.
And that is kind of helping you, guide you through.
How do you feel about, bro? Because back when make us sound old,
Yeah, right.
but like back, like even 5, 7, like say 8 years ago, 2015, when we were coming up, it was always this thing to like find the dope studio, like Circle House, and you want the dope studio. But now it seems like people are recording anywhere, bro. It seems like people will record in a hotel room. I'm seeing people in a studio not even using the booth anymore. They set up the mic next to the control room. Now you don't even need the big SSL boards. You don't need anything. How do you feel about that? Does that affect the music? Are you with it?
I think I can always agree with it if the technology is kind of up to par. I know there's a whole argument. I hate saying that just because it was like, I know the argument between digital and analog. Everyone always argues it. But to me,
I think digital ruined music.
I know. Yeah, that's why I was just like a little hesitant saying that just now. But it's kind of something that I say to myself, if I can get the listener to not notice the difference, then where's the argument anymore? You know, because I'm thinking to myself so critical and analytical when it comes to sonics and what I'm hearing, perceiving, what's leveled out. If this is too sharp, this is like, you know, conflicting with this instrument.
Right.
That when you play it back for people, they have no idea what you just even were like concerned about, what you were worried. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't hear that, you know?
Because now with technology, you can mix a whole record in a laptop now.
Yeah. I mean, Project Baby 2, he was unfortunately under, you know, house arrest too back then. You know, we couldn't really leave, but, you know, we couldn't go to the studio. We had no access to one, so we built one in the house, you know, and we were just using an iMac, a Duet, and literally U87. And that was, and we knocked out, you know, Rollin' Piece was done off that album, you know what I mean? Transporting was done off that album. And that's all recorded literally like in an office space in the other room.
As far as acoustics go, do you think those little shields work? Like,
I mean, yes and no. I mean, if it was up to me, if I was an artist, I would just throw a big blanket over me, you know what I mean? And like, if I can tolerate doing that, I would tell every artist, like, it's no different than a booth. You know, you're cutting all type of air around you, and that's like the idea of an ISO booth. You know what I mean? Just isolate complete, like all air. But I don't know. I mean, I've gotten used to that. I mean, we've had to, you know. One time Drake sent a record to Yak, you know, to knock out, and he really wanted to do it, but we were leaving, I forgot, it was like North Carolina to go back home. So, you know, we're trying to make the jet, and we're just in an SUV, and I'm like, bro, I could do it right here. And he just knocked it out, and come to think of it, in a car with all 4 doors closed.
Right, the acoustics are on point, actually.
Yeah, so to me, I was like, it's fine, you know what I mean? I didn't have the AC on.
Recorded in the wind.
So he knocked out his verse for one of those Drake records he sent him, and then we just literally hopped on a jet like 40 minutes later.
That's crazy.
And to me, that's where I started noticing is if I have the technology to, you know, be up to par and then I have access to it, then it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
It comes down to like, if you're doing it in a huge hallway, then you're going to hear that natural, you know, reverb going on. But different things can be done now because the, you know, microphones, like all these preamps are actually becoming a lot better, you know?
Yeah, right.
But I mean, studio wise, if it was up to my house, hell yeah, I'd put analog everywhere because I'm not going to move it, you know?
And I saw a thing, bro. Yeah, let's get the geeky like music talk out the way for like the average girl that's maybe listening that doesn't know what the like. They're speaking Japanese right now.
I mean,
but there's a lot of producers and industry people and DJs that watch this shit. So, just the comparison between analog and digital. I saw a video. I think it was like an old, maybe like Jodeci's. I don't know. Some are old R&B, and he was talking about analog. And for the average people that don't know, music was always recorded analog, recorded to a tape, to a reel, and now it's been recorded to computers. It's all digital, right? And an argument could be made, and I'm on the side of analog, that where analog had like a warmth sound to it. You would really feel, you know, those 90s R&B records, the harmonies, and you would really feel the music more to me. Then it's all, you know, digital emotion now. It's all digitized and auto-tuned, and it doesn't sound the same to me. And I saw a reel someone was talking about, and it was talking about old engineers, like when you record analog, when you record to tape, you're recording its grooves and you're recording like the actual energy onto a tape. You don't record energy onto digital. And he broke it down a certain way. I was like, damn, that's true. But
I mean, you got to think about what a microphone is. It's literally a diaphragm sitting in between 2 voltages. So every time your voice is being pushed in, it's moving it around. So when you see the file and you see the waveform, it's just literally a reflection of what the diaphragm inside the microphone is doing.
Right.
So but to me, the warmth we always hear is actual, like, you know, voltages being transferred through wires, through gear, through, you know, like tubes, amps, which is basically, it's not so much relying on the power of a microphone, but there's a whole tube boosting that bitch up to make it even more of a powerful signal. And, you know, you receive it a lot better, you know? But the thing with with vinyl is crazy because, you know, at Circle House, I have, you know, Inner Circle. Those guys have all these vinyls from classic things. So we were, Uncle Luke from 2 Live Crew wanted to convert some songs from, you know, reels, or sorry, you know, like basically reels to Pro Tools. But when we were isolating some of the tracks on the actual analog tape, you could still hear the audio from the track before, so you'd hear a violin, but you still hear the violin in the vocal track. Ooh. So part of me is just like, how could that even be? But the thing is that because it's analog and it's all actually being imprinted in tape, because it's been sitting on its side for so long, it can actually bleed through to the previous tracks.
What?
So when you listen to it and you're soloing out tracks, if you ever hear a little bit of the track before, it's because the tape can actually
wow, that's
merge. But I mean, that's the point, is that this is so natural of a process of recording. I don't know if you've ever seen vinyl being
There's
pressed.
perfections and imperfections,
Yeah,
bro. There's a tat I'm about to get, bro. It's a Japanese phrase, and it's the beauty and imperfections.
And that, to be honest, I think just passively understanding what you're listening to when you hear old records, Tom Dowd is one of my favorite engineers ever. He's one of the first engineers. He was like almost a physicist that helped. He was a part of a team that helped develop a nuclear bomb, the testing,
shit.
right? So after he did that whole Hiroshima stunt, he was like, fuck this, I'm going to go just become an engineer. And that's where he met Ahmed, the president at the time of Atlantic. And this man's creating actual reconstructing the mechanics of a mixing board. So back then, faders, like the way you see it here, used to be be dials, little turn knobs,
exactly,
right? And he's the one that invented it for its
DJ
linear
mixers too.
So it became linear now. But this guy's opening shit up and rewiring things and coming up different ways to come up with the same piece of gear.
Crazy.
But it's just that process alone, when it comes to recording, it's like no other. You know what I mean? It's so much different than just plugging a microphone in the same machine that everyone can purchase and just getting the same signal back. So
engineers kind of had their own style, their own. And I think about bro, what if some of these records, even some Drake records that are R&B-ish, imagine if those were recorded analog, 40 and the Drake records, how they would sound, because there's a certain warmth to it that you just can't get, man. And
see, at the time when Tom Dowd was recording Aretha Franklin and having a band or anybody in the room, he didn't have 8 tracks. Sometimes they only had 2 tracks. It was just left and right, So
it was a performance.
So what he would have to do is place the microphone in the room and then position people in the room that were loudest based on their instrument, how far away they'd be from the mic. So the drummer would be all the way over there. The bass player would be the closest to the mic, along with the singer right here. So he'd basically be moving people around in the room of a microphone just so when he hears it, it's leveled correctly.
That's crazy. And you got to pan it according to where you position them.
I mean, think about it. You have 2 microphones to create a stereo image.
Right.
So you're trying to perceive when you listen with headphones if I close my eyes, how am I, vocalist is right here, drummer's back here, bassist is right there. I hear the guitars here, the backup singers are over here.
Yeah. Literally different things.
They're the back. It's always different. But that's in school. It's something they would always teach us is close your eyes, and then if you could write in a map, position how far and the depth you would hear certain sonics. And that, it's just meant to train your ear. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about, we're getting geeky, but it's all good. How do you feel about, now Apple has this spatial audio shit. And now you have you could do two, for the average people listening, you have left and right, which is a stereo image. But now Apple with these new headphones and this new thing they're trying to pitch to everyone, I believe it's 5 speakers surround sound now that you.
Yeah, it's cool. You know what it is? It just trips me out because sometimes I listen to music and you expect to hear it a certain way, but when you hear it kind of all around, but what trips me out because we were flying somewhere and I had it on and I didn't realize that in my Apple phone I had spatial audio activated or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to a song and I'm like, yo, why does this shit sound so different? But I'm turning my head. I'm just and I guess I'm just wasn't used to it. Mm-hmm. But then when I recognized what it was and I took it off, I felt like I had more power again to the way you want to hear music. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that, to be honest, I think is it's a feature. You know what I mean? I wouldn't take the approach when it comes to musically and professionally.
So you don't even consider it when you're mixing a record or anything.
Here's the thing: every time we turn in an album or a song that we're about to release, we have to send it. We do Dolby Atmos mixes, and that's basically what it is. It's incorporated with spatial audio. So it's cool. It's a whole different process of exporting and finalizing.
There's studios now. I saw an Adobe studio.
A to F right here in Wynwood. They just they build a whole new second room that's completely Dolby ready to go. You know what I mean?
Really?
And it's cool. The thing is, you just got to get used to it. It's
kind of just remember in SAE and Full Sail how they had the surround sound for the visual for movies is that 5 speakers surrounding you. Is it kind of the same shit?
It basically. Surround sound's a certain positioning, but spatial audio is supposed to at least be in a certain position where you actually it replicates a perfect balance of you know, space around you. Yeah. Because like when you turn your head, you're like, oh shit, you know?
Shit's getting crazy, bro. I just got the downloaded the new iOS on my iPhone, and the shit is wanting to make a mold of my ear and shit. They're like, hit OK in your AirPods. We're gonna create a mold of your ear, and it's gonna play the music in your AirPods. I'm like, yo, get the fuck.
I know. I've learned even in my world, I can't update immediately because there's so much that I'm basing off of, like, you know, my music and programs and shit like that. That one update from Apple might send the whole thing like in a loop, and now all of a sudden, you know, I open this plug and the whole bitch crashes.
The same way, bro. Then you fuck around, you go to DJ, and now your shit don't connect to the club, and now you fuck.
I personally have gotten to a point now, like, if I'm so committed, if this is the sound I want, I don't care about having access to that, like, you know, that patch again. I'm just going to record it as an audio file and just move on. Like, I'm going to commit that hard to the sound. So, you know what? I don't care. Nothing could go wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the one reason I even I use stock plugins sometimes when it comes to tracking, like deverbs and shit, because I'm so tired of like sending sessions or getting sessions from people, and they have all these, you know, Slate Digital and all these crazy plugins going on, and I don't, you know, if I don't have every single one, then all of a sudden the artist will be like, yo, it doesn't sound like the way I heard it, and I'm just like, bro, I'm so done with this shit. So to me, it's like. It doesn't matter what studio we're in.
Waves lava pack.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, stop it, man. No one's gonna, like, I guess back to our original point, no one's gonna tell the difference to this shit sometimes. So that's why when it comes to digital and audio, I've learned how to reserve my geeky. But it needs to really be this way.
I tell people this all the time, even with consuming music and being a DJ. Like you gotta. There's a big difference between people who are in the industry and the consumer, the average person. They're not geeks like us. They're not on it like us. The average people be in the club like, yo, why are you playing this shit again, bro? The average person is the person taking their kids to school. They just want to hear their song they can sing to. They're not on it like that.
No,
you know?
Of course. I mean, you gotta. If you care about this industry, if you care about this business, you have to. I mean, to me, I take a scientific approach to things. You know what I mean? Because I'll collect whatever data from experiences that I know. And that's how I kind of try to make a more accurate decision or judgment as to what it is that I want to do. Because people, you know, they always have a bad taste in this business, a bad, like, you know, oh man, the industry, you know, did me wrong. But I feel like the world or the industry itself, like, they don't necessarily let you down. Your expectations let you down.
100%.
So if you always consistently are expecting something of people and it doesn't come through, of course you're going to be disappointed. You know what I mean? But to me, it's if I could sit back and make a scientific or really like collect data and say, okay, this is a calculated decision or calculated approach, I'm at least doing it hoping that I come with a more like accurate you know, result, you know?
For me, one of my favorite quotes that I heard, and I think it was Charlemagne or Wendy, they said you could be of the industry or of the people. You can't be of both.
No, you got to play ball.
Right. So there's times when you're going to be whether you're in the studio doing music, whether you're a DJ, whatever you do in this industry, there's going to be times where you're going to have to make a decision. Do I do what the industry wants me to do, or do I do what the people want me to do?
Yeah.
And you got to choose. Some people are of the industry, which is cool, you know. There's DJs of the industry, there's producers of the industry, and then there's people who don't care about the industry, and they're gonna do what they feel is right for the people, regardless of how the industry feels, you know.
I know.
And I've kind of always been that way. Like, I hate the politics.
It's with a purpose always.
Exactly.
Like, that's what you want to do. Yeah.
So as long as you do whatever you're doing from a place of integrity and honesty and what feels right to you. Fuck what the industry says.
No,
you know
completely.
what I'm saying?
And that's why, to be honest, I feel like at least my journey in this business, it's kind of been at my own leisure of how what I expect from it. Because I think engineering was a blessing in itself because it allowed me to be the fly on the wall. You know, it wasn't my budget. I'm not the one paying for the studio. I'm being the one being paid. Right. I just have the opportunity of sitting back and watching an artist, a producer, a manager. Yeah, and I think Circle House, you know, I love that place because after all the years that I've been there dealing with, I mean, my first session there was with Justin Timberlake. You know what I mean?
What?
He had these like Norwegian artists he was dealing with, and like just sitting in there and watching him and like all these people work together, it really started connecting a lot of dots in my own head. You know what I mean? I didn't really care what they were working on. I was just thinking out of all the experiences and ways that I've approached the studio and tried to figure things out, what a, like, you know, breath of fresh air to see someone else figure it out and for it to come out dope, you know? Wow. But that is kind of what I meant when I said, like, you know, I'm collecting like data. I'm collecting things that I'm like, wow, okay, this, you know, makes sense. This is a quicker way to get to A to B. And then for me, it's like I kind of would bank more on my own judgment as to what my decisions were, whether it be like, you know, what I want to do to my beat, whether I want to play this record for this person or not, you know? It's because I'm just kind of going off of what I, you know, it's like a subconscious, you know, associative memory of, damn, you know, I remember someone saying something about this, so maybe I shouldn't try this approach, you know?
Experience, bro.
Yeah, but then there's some people that just like, you know, they let off their bullets and being like, damn, man, why isn't anything landing? Like, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, they get disappointed and they're like, man, fuck this place, fuck this business, you know? Like, but to me, it's, you know, you're letting yourself down because of your own expectations, you know?
So it takes time.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong when you just invest in your own judgment, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who are the 5 biggest artists you've worked with, you've recorded for?
Man. I mean...
Justin Timberlake got to be one of the 5, right?
I was just thinking, like, if it comes to sitting in a room with people, you know what I mean? Because, like I said, Circle House is such a, like, it's a hidden mecca of everyone that passes through there. It has been, like, you know, the Justin Timberlake, when T-Pain was at his prime, a bartender was going through there, you know what I mean? Diddy did Making the Band in there, so it was like constant, you know. But I mean, I got to, you know,
let's say record, like you either had production credits or you recorded them.
Shakira's She Wolf I was a part of a long time. Circle House, yeah, really random.
She's about to go to like jail for tax evasion.
Yeah, no, what blew my mind is just that record. I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? I couldn't process it, but I remember being pissed because I was like, damn, I got to be here all week, and she's just like, you know, full studio lockdown. I hated the whole, like, you know, experience, but then of course that's an example of you don't know what you're about to come across, you know what I mean? Because then you see the record go and it becomes what it became. You're like, damn, man, like that was just a random Thursday at work, you know?
And I was bugging.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it makes you realize that, like, whatever you got going on in your day, like when it comes to music, you don't know how this stuff is going to come about, you know, or put together, you know? Yeah. But, you know.
I'll never forget. That's funny you say that, bro. Because there's so many, like, there's, like, you know, like DJ Laz, one of my mentors, like, he thought 50 Cent in the club was like trash, like it was gonna flop. You know, I'll never forget me, bro. I was giving me and my boy Golden Boy Javier, promoter at Live, a shout out to Varsity. This was in 2016. We got a favor from French for a feature for a record, and we're like, yo, we're gonna get French is deciding which record he's gonna get on because he doesn't have time to do both. Like, all right, we hope he gets on our record. Then my boy tells me, he goes, yo, French decided to get on one of Russian's beat with some artist named fucking Bad Bunny. I'm like, yo, who the fuck is Bad Bunny? I started making fun of his name. Because it wasn't my record, it was the Bad Bunny record, and I was so mad. And I told my boy Hav, like the other day, where they're watching Bad Bunny at the fucking concert, and I'm there like, bro, remember when I was like, who the fuck is Bad Bunny? Like,
I've learned you always have to keep your ear to the ground, but names are just names. You know what I mean? Because but when records get played, I almost prefer not to know who it is. You know what I mean? Because it helps me understand, like, whether or not I'm vibing to it.
Yeah.
You know?
So the other 4, I don't want to leave the question. The other let's say artists. Yeah, Shakira's one.
I mean, Shakira. I mean, we did the Kendrick feature with Kodak. That was a crazy experience.
Like in the studio with Kendrick.
Yeah, no, it was during Rolling Loud last year, and ironically, Kendrick's manager used to be with another artist, and I knew him through that. So then, out of the blue, we reconnected, and he was like, you know, I'm managing Kendrick now, and I'm like, yo, that's congrats, that's huge. Yeah. But he's like, man, if you and Yak are ever in LA, like, please come out. You know, Kendrick's got records, he wants to play them. So that experience in itself was amazing. I mean, COVID is crazy with the regulations out there in Cali. So, like, you know, unless you had a COVID vaccination card, they wouldn't even let you in the studio.
That's good.
So it was really it was me, Yak, and Gucci Poochie. Those only 3 people that were allowed in the studio because we had, you know, we could go in. Yeah. And it was amazing. You know, like Kendrick played all the records. You know, it was just to see him work. It was, you know so much about him. You heard so much about him. You know what I mean? But to watch him truly, like, try to piece things together, and then of course my guy, like, you know, just applying himself to, like, you know, his art, it was incredible, man. Like that's a very, very memorable experience, just because of, I mean, it becomes memorable because when records become what they become, you start recapping everything of how it was just, like, you know, put together and presented, and then you're like, man, like, you know, this stuff has a lot of, like, you know, magic to it, I guess you want to say, because you can't predict shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Super Gremlin, we didn't even know was real. I mean, we knew it was a dope record, but then, you know, we're listening to our entire catalog. We know a lot of dope records that were like, oh, it's on fire, but we just don't know how it's going to get received and how that really kind of snowballs. And
it's crazy how it's almost like you just put out a body of work and let the people pick the single.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to do it. You know, you got to treat your audience like it's no different than when why do we give a shit about LeBron's? He puts up the numbers and all we care about is a scoreboard. Yeah. So if you're not doing numbers, if things aren't streaming, you know, it's like, it doesn't make sense why you're not paying attention to that, you know?
Like, it's interesting because I don't understand, like, for example, like Super Gremlin, I never, I guess maybe because I'm older now and I can't really pinpoint because they all start to sound not the same, but they kind of like, I would never be able to choose which one is going to be the banger. I would never be able to do that, you know?
No, it's like I said, you have to just let people kind of just tell you, you know?
Yeah.
I never really, like, when there's an artist and they're just talking about how dope their shit is all the time, I just, to me, I'm like, nah, I need someone else to tell me your shit's dope.
Exactly.
Like, you can't tell me, the producers too, like, you can't tell me how dope your beats are. Like, you know what I mean? I got to hear, I mean, not always, but I mean, I like to know, I like to know, damn, so-and-so's got that shit. Fuck, let me build the curiosity to go find out what you got. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we got Shakira, Kodak, Shakira, Kendrick. We could put Kodak in there.
Yeah, no, of course. And then, I mean, Justin Timberlake. But then, honestly, Snoop Dogg was one that was a really dope experience.
You Snoop?
Yeah, he came to the Circle one time, and BB called me. It was like it was at noon during the day, and I think I was just like, getting my day started. And BB, of course, please, man, like,
bro,
I trust you. I only trust you. Please come through. And I'm like, nah, I got you. But
my biggest memories happened at Circle House. Music memories. I was like, damn, bro, I'll never forget, bro. Like,
that's why this question's kind of hard because through Circle House alone, man, I've come with I've gone through like in the kitchen, been with Usher. You know what I mean? And just and it's like stuff like that I'm kind of like, damn, man, there's a lot of people that.
Bro, I'll never forget that probably like 2 years ago, my boy Shula hits me up and he goes, and this is me like, growing up in high school being like crazy Dipset, like Heatmaker, like fanatic, like my whole music aspiration started from that sound. Then my boy hits me up, he's like, yo, pull up to Circle House. Jim Jones is with Arsonist and the Heatmakers doing his shit, bro. I was there like just a fly on the wall. Like I cannot believe I'm in front of this and getting to see like them cook up right now. It was like a dream come true, bro.
Yeah.
And it's those type of moments where you're like, bro, life is amazing. Like shit really could get manifested. You know what I'm saying? Like.
No, it's crazy too because like I said, you said it. You don't know how things come about, and I'll never forget us. There's a mix engineer by the name of KD out of Atlanta, legend. You know what I mean? He was mixing Usher's OMG, but he was really adamant. But nobody can go through that little, the little lounge in Studio A, the little couch and stuff. He didn't want anyone going through that lounge, So if you had to go to B, you just go around or something. But of course, at the time, I'm like, man, just whatever, just walking fast. But I'll never forget, I heard OMG by Usher, and I just kept hearing that sample. Oh. And for me, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Like, what is this going to be?
Because I know Usher was working. I'm just like, I can't, it makes me wonder, like, is my judgment off? Do I not know what's good or not? But when you start hearing it put together, you start saying to yourself, like, wait, this is something. You know what I mean? And then at the time, I didn't even know will.i.am produced it. I just thought it was Usher working. You know what I mean? Right. So then when it all, like at the end of the night, when the doors cracked open, you could hear everything in the house. Right. It's, you start listening to, you're like, wow, man, like this is incredible the way, things get put together. That's something you always admire, but you also realize that you were the only one in the room at that time. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's what's more appalling is that like nobody else got to see this record get put together but me. I was assistant mix engineer for All I Do Is Win for Lou. Lou mixed it, Lou Diaz. So for Khaled, that I remember never forget that pause where every hands go up. There was a little bit of like a debate going on in the room how long that pause was because some people felt the drop was way too long.
Wow.
Here comes Khaled. Oh. No, trust me. And
like
to me, I'm sitting there just listening. I'm like, what are you all gonna do? You're gonna put it off or not?
You're gonna pause it for a bar or a bar and a half? Like how long? 30-minute conversation
staring
about
at that thing. Like where do I?
How long is that gap gonna go?
But then finally, like when you hear it now in stadiums and everywhere, you're just like, that's the moment right there. It's such a special.
That made the record.
Yeah,
it literally made the pause. Made the record. Bro.
Yeah, exactly. It made it so much more of a everyone participate now. You know what I mean?
Bro, that's almost where like, because obviously it wasn't recorded with a pause.
No.
And that was the engineers, the mix engineer. It's almost like y'all should have got production credit for that in a way.
Well, I mean, Khaled came up with the idea to do that. I'm just saying like there was an argument over like, the producer. Everyone was just like, nah, I think it's too long. It's not an argument, but it was just like, I don't know, Khaled, you know what I mean? But that's the one other reason why Khaled has an ear for things because he's thinking it like you, like a DJ. You know what I mean? What can I make a moment out of? What can I cut and think like, oh, this is going to get people's attention, But you have to wear all hats with that shit. But it's dope because when you're in rooms and that shit happens, man, it's really, really, really unique that, you get to be there. That's the same with Snoop Dogg, It's just being with him. It's kind of funny because like he recorded his lead, of course, in like one take, and then he was doing his ad libs and playing it back from him. Like, you cool with that? And he's like, shit, it sounds like Snoop Dogg to me. It's like, and I'm like, you're right, man. Like, what you've done this shit so much time. Like, what are we like? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, of course, but it was just so like it was so simple,
That's fire, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like you just mentioning that, like it's just there's a lot of people I've been in in the rooms with that I'm kind of just like, damn, what a moment for that.
Are you kind of just focused on at this point in your career? Are you kind of just hyper focused on Yak right now? Like,
yeah, I mean, to me, I've always wanted to pride myself being from Miami Beach, literally Mount Sinai and 41st Street was where I was born. Like, I got to be from something from the crib. You know what I mean? Like, at the time I was way, Ross popped off, Khaled had We Taken Over. All these things started going. You know what I mean? Flow Rider started blowing up. So it was like that. I don't know. I just didn't feel like I needed to leave. You know what I mean? Everyone, the producer that oh man, I'm gonna go to LA and make it. I'm gonna go to LA and do this. I'm gonna go to LA and do, like, stop, man. Why go where you're not really like appreciated? Just tolerated. It's like, go where like this is where I can make something of it. And I know Circle kind of gave that idea because, like I said, it was like Cool and Dre in one room. Then it was E-Class and Po' Boy and whether it be Rick Ross or Billy Blue or Flow Rider, you know what I mean? And then it had Khaled, you know what I mean? And then it was just so much that I was like, man, there's a lot to make of here. But, to be honest, all that had its course and kind of like, did its thing. But for me, I knew there was someone coming out of Florida. It's always like a repeat of a wave that I knew that was going to be that spark and click where I'm like, you know what, this is
from Broward, bro. Can you talk more about Kodak's style? I'll be honest. Like, I didn't get it at first, and then you start to listen more and you start to hear the melodies a little more and you're starting to be like, okay, I get it now. You know what I'm saying? Can you walk through your, his sound and how you
I think I gravitated towards him because of his story, what he was about, you know what I mean? Who he was, like, really, and then at the same time, I think the more you listen to his music, the more, to me, the lyrics are always guiding me because despite the beat he picks or what melody he's about to sing, when I'm listening to what he's saying, that kind of really adds more, like reality to things, And one thing I always love about the kid is that he's just very, very transparent with his life and how it translates to music because there's times where things happen and writes a song. It's like,
it's really his therapy. Like,
Haitian Scarface was a song he dropped recently. That was a perfect example. Literally within 2 days of an incident, he just knew how to translate all that perfectly and articulate it so well. And his style of rapping, it just connects, And artists have a hard time, I think, putting all that together to create a formula where every time you go into the booth, you're always going to execute a record, execute a verse, because it does sometimes take a little bit more figuring out. But at his level, it's just so like seamless. You know what I mean?
Is he right? Does he gonna get in there?
At times he would. I mean, if it's something that he's really trying to put together, of course he's gonna write. There's nothing, like there's nothing to stop him from writing. But from when he was unfortunately away last time, he was sending like lyrics that he'd write inside behind the wall and like send it to us so we could like store it, and keep it safe. So when he came home, it's just like shoeboxes and shoeboxes full of like verses, rhymes, the verses. So he has a lot to pick from. But that's honestly why I love. Just recording sometimes as much as we can because you don't know what he's about to come up with. But that's the best thing about him. As long as we live life, we'll always have content to go off of. So it's the thing about it is that you just got to let life happen.
You don't have to go into detail, but regarding his legal situations, is he straight? Like, is he going to be good?
Yeah,
no,
he's fine, man.
Okay.
I mean,
because I just get worried. I hear all the shit in the news, and it's like, like, are they going after him?
It's unfortunately. It'd be dumb to say that there's not biased people out here. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to like law and politics. So it's an unfortunate game that you just have to work around. You know what I mean? And Florida, just having a history of being in Florida, like, I mean, it's no different. People are going to always like see where you can trip on your own shoelace. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. But no, he's good, man. He's
straight though, right?
Yeah, no, he's cool. I always look, I always honor him and his strength and everything he's been through. That's just so much of whatever you hear recently or to come. It's just like, man, all the years he's been, he's been really been able to like hold his own. He's always going to be good. Trust me. Okay. I always know in times when I just like say to myself, like, you know what, man, like I got to remember who he is, and we're fine though. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Everything's good, man. We're we got people overseas ready to go out there. It's just it's about just moving around. You know what I mean? Just getting the music's about to drop, and then on top of that,
he's got a project coming. You said you got a record coming out at midnight, and then
tonight there's a record coming out off the project. And shit, man. We have music ready to go, and I think that's something we've always had already, like in the vault, is just concept albums. You know what I mean? Like this album put together with these records, and this album put together with these records. So. Last time we was away, we put out a project called Bill Israel, and it's so unfortunate. I hate that like we even had to be in this position, but they sent him to Big Sandy in Kentucky, but they also took away his phone privileges for like 6 months, so we couldn't talk to him for a while. So I was spending as much as I could overnighting all these letters and timing it where it took 5 days for his letters to get to me, but he can get my letters at most 3 days. So when we're putting an album together, it's like I'm literally 5 pages, no front to back in an envelope, 2 stamps, and then putting all those envelopes full of whether it be pictures or notes or lyrics, whatever he asked for, shove it all in like a, UPS envelope and overnight that shit to the jail. So that way you can like get the information faster.
So you weren't able to talk to him on the phone. So in regards to putting the album together, it's like just album notes back and forth through mail.
Like, hey, so and so wants this. This is done. This is not clear. We got to do this. Like, I just literally
turn the snare up. Like, yo.
No, but it's the thing. He couldn't listen to it, and that's where I think that time was where I really knew I had his trust. You know what I mean? Because he couldn't even listen back to records, and I know he's got like a memory of an elephant. Like he can remember anything and lyrics and go to 2 minutes and let me hear that word. You know what I mean? But I just knew that as long as I knew what songs he wants to put together, I can just make sure it's presented right, process. You know what I mean? Go through the thing, mastering, like uploaded DSPs.
How do you feel about just the climate of dropping music now? Like just, with the streaming and...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's look, it's all a wildfire. I look back at like XXS, when he was dropping like Look at Me, the biggest songs on SoundCloud. You know what I mean? Who uses SoundCloud now?
Yeah.
But it's just things like that it's like, it was always, you can find your own lane to, have your stage, and let it go. But it to me, it does have to somehow be premeditated, because releasing records is a lot of artists, they just put the records out and they think, all right, cool, it's good, it should do what it should do. But I think the work comes after the fact. Like when the record is out, you still have to work it. You still have to.
So I was going to say, what do you think that entails now? Because now it's all digital. Back in the days, I'm still a fan of groundwork and doing shit old school too, getting out to the people. But as far as, say, the average artist puts a record out, what do you think that entails? Like as far as,
I think, when we say radio, I know we're thinking, okay, like, 99 Jams, Power 96, like all these different things that we
now
can...
it's every media, podcasting and everything.
But I think one angle that I know people are really trying to go after is the playlisting. You know what I mean? I think Spotify has they have like their top tier playlist or whatever, but when you look at how many people are subscribed to these playlists, it could be 50 million. At least you're going to get a good 25 million to maybe listen. You know what I mean? Maybe you get a good 10 million. That's still numbers. Yeah. But with their approach of just getting playlists and having certain people play the OVO radio or, you know what I mean? Beats
Rap
One.
Caviar.
Yeah, it's like that can kind of help with the exposure. But I think once you have a record exposed and people are, you know what I mean? Like the Glorilla, when the record started blowing up, now it becomes a trend, and trends are always where you can just bank on, because if the record in itself, of course, has like a whatever trendy verse or trending line,
like TikTok, it's TikTokable.
It's something that can start the conversation. But to me, it's always how fast do people stop talking about it? That should get me more worried, because if I play a record, people cool with it, then a week later they don't care. I'm just talking about like independent people that just present things. That's more of a concern. Like, why didn't I remember it, Or I don't know. Sometimes I'll just tell people, like, stop a record and be like, yo, what was the first verse? If they don't know anything, can't say a melody or anything, I'm like, all right, that's a good indicator.
People are saying now that, like, you only need a 15-second TikTok first to make your song go viral now,
Well, what I've learned with TikTok, though, is because even some of the stuff, I remember we posted a video of Yak and his grandma, like, smoking a Black and Mild, just, like, hanging out in the house or whatever. Within a couple minutes or maybe within the hour, he was hitting like more toward the 100,000 views and then going towards the 1 million views. That was only with a couple hours. Now I'm trying to use that compared to when you upload a video on Instagram. It always will hit the 20,000s, the 40,000s, the 100,000s, but at the rate it's going at is completely different because it is so much more traffic on TikTok that even when you fraction it all off, you're still going to get more eyes and ears through TikTok than you would Instagram. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So I had Julian tell me, like, it's non-negotiable. You have to have a TikTok.
At this point, because when you have that many eyes and ears just ready for anything, why aren't you entertaining that platform? You know what I mean? Right. That's what I've started learning, is that it's just so many more people. You can't go wrong when you have 4 times the amount of people in the room than you did before, And it's not to say like Instagram and all these social medias aren't like up there, because it all could be a wildfire at any moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
It could all take off, but you always do damage in numbers in this business. You know what I mean? Sometimes people like, a sale is a sale, a stream is a stream, You just got to go out there and get it.
Bro, songs are like 1 minute, 40 seconds now, bro.
Yeah, no, they're getting shorter and shorter. Yeah. Well, think about it, because
a stream is still worth a stream. What was a stream worth? Like a cent? Not even?
Well, every 1,700 streams considered one sale.
Okay, so...
yes.
So might as well make the song as short as possible.
Yeah.
If it's going to be the same value as a song that's 4 minutes long.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah. And then it's the only conflict now is that when you get into albums, it has to be over like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Like to be considered an album.
Really? Okay.
But it should, you know, then that's why people have more songs. Because
then it's kind of like even like a cliffhanger to where like you hear a song, it's a minute for you, like, damn, now I got to play it again. Because it's like you feel like you didn't hear the whole song, you know?
But there's some songs that are that short and that contagious that it will keep you going. Like, what was that Drake record? Hold On, We're Coming Home. I know people notice, but I'm saying like for a Drake record, like, you know, the first verse and the second verse are identical. So people don't know, but it's a short song. So when it repeats, you want to repeat it again because it was short and it was just such a dope, you know, verse, dope chorus. Like everything about it was just, you know, addictive. So but I don't know. I mean, shorter songs sometimes can benefit.
I guess it's a rap for the bridge, huh? I think the bridge. There's no such thing as a bridge anymore.
Yeah, we're talking about key changes and stuff like
that.
No,
like, we don't got time for that shit, bro.
I mean, R&B. I don't know. Is R&B dead really? You know what I mean?
No, I think R&B is the best. I think I like R&B more. I'm an R&B head more than I am a hip hop head.
I can tolerate R&B way more. Like for a longer period of time, when it comes to listening back, it's like I think smoother on the ears than listening to hip hop over and over. Like, you know what I mean? But
I think I'll be honest with you, bro. I think that, and I'm a victim of it, and I just hated, to a degree I still do, just the sonics of the way hip hop sounds right now.
It's just limited.
It's so that I think one of the main reasons why Latin exploded is not even because the demographics have changed. That's true, but I just feel like hip hop got so, like, for example, and this is a true fact. Like, these are the numbers. Like the average. We're from Miami. The average Latina girl that's 21 years old, when we were 21, she would listen to hip hop and she would listen to Latin. Yeah. But now these new 21-year-old Latina females, they don't even want to listen to hip hop because it's not rhythmic enough. It's not in the middle. It's all the way this way now. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it could also be like a culture relatable thing too. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, I mean, with hip hop, like I've learned, like, I mean, this can go back to the conversation we had with technology. Everyone uses Fruity Loops, you know? And the one reason people use Fruity Loops is because the algorithm that they have on their master bus that limits shit, it does allow like a digital saturation for your drums to actually, like, it's almost like an expander. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's actually allowing the signal to come in harder, but only these specific like dynamics where when you play back a beat you would do on Fruity Loops, it's gonna hit. It's gonna sound like Pierce, like dance music. All these guys use Logic.
You know what I blame?
Yeah.
As a producer, I blame, and I'll take any producer that's hot right now and give them a challenge. Make a beat pack. I blame the 808.
With what?
The 808.
Oh yeah.
Make a beat without the 808, bro. Like you can't like.
No, you can't substitute.
You can't have
sound.
like. Music needs grooves.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a groove with an 808. Everything can't be boomy.
No, I mean, people try. I mean, everyone gets creative, but even when I make beats, I'm still incorporating an actual bass to understand what the notes are and notations and like the rhythm. But 808s, like what we were saying, it's like it's almost expected now because if you don't have an 808 in a beat, everyone's gonna notice. People that don't know anything about beat making or production are still gonna notice something's off. You know what I mean? Because they're like, this isn't what I'm used to hearing when it comes.
That's why certain R&B is killing it right now, bro. Like
it's
you know, whether it's her, you got certain like where. The monotony in hip hop, I blame it on the producers. Let me say that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
because in Latin, reggaeton, dembow, they're not using 808s like that.
No.
It's still bass.
See, that feels better because when it comes to what people are used to in that in that genre, everything sounds live. Everything sounds a natural experience of hearing back music.
But it's easier to move to when it's a groove.
No,
when there's the groove in the low end and not just a doom 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 doom. It doesn't.
I've been playing drums, since I was like 9 years old. I mean, started here and there. I always, even when it comes to like, making beats, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gotta like build the rhythm naturally myself because I can't go write that shit in MIDI and be like, okay, that's how the rym's supposed to be. Like it's all gotta naturally feel like, of a groove, of a rhythm, you know? But but it's interesting because like, especially with the Latin industry, what it's doing right now, I think it is really going back into a bigger rooted, sentimental meaning to just the genre, to its fans, because I'm Spanish as well. I'm like half Colombian, half Peruvian. So I already know how much our people like love our the music. So I think as long as that stays true to each other, every genre is going to flourish. You know what I mean? Because you have your audience and you have people that like are really emotionally and like attached to this experience of how they brought up on hip hop. You know what I mean? Like it was in Philadelphia, Poochie as well for Made in America, with our man's J1s. Like J1s, I respect him because of over the years that he's been in this game, he just knows real hip hop. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like
for
real,
sure.
like how things have started. One of my close friends, Thurston Howell the third, he started this thing in New York called the Low Lives. Him and people that back then. But these guys have incorporated fashion, and Ralph Lauren going to the city. You know what I mean? Just like boosting, going back into this hood with all this dope ass fly polo shit. To them, it incorporated how they started their music and how hip hop meant to them, because it always was about the clothes and the music. And then from there, Tommy Hilfiger started jumping in and started, rocking the Aaliyah. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff started growing. But I'm just, to me, I always know you can bank harder on, providing a genre that's going to always go towards the actual, you're the demographic of people that,
and it speaks to the climate of just the way society is right now. Because, bro, I'm tired, like these American kids that, like they all want to kill themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's sad. Everybody's suicidal. Everybody's on hard drugs, and it's the 808. Like it's deep demonic. There's no grooves, no doom, 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 doom. It's all just demonic. Like
it's getting lazy.
That is what's giving room for the Latin. I have a theory.
It's such a contrast sonically that it's for anyone that isn't with one side of the fence, it's a good breath of fresh air from this side of the fence.
Bro, I learned a whole new language, bro. I'm fluent in Spanish because of it, bro.
It's amazing.
Bro, because in 2016, it's like I can't resonate with this anymore, bro. I don't feel this way. I want to feel uplifting. I want to feel happy, bro.
It's interesting because I come from like really hardcore screamo rock music. You know what I mean? Like Double Pedals, fucking like Deftones, Norma Jean, like a lot of like. But it's interesting because like that was just my world. It's me and my friends. What we'd always would do is just play like to rock, hardcore music. But then it's interesting because then when I got into the production world of learning how to make beats, it's almost like anybody in the rock world was not going to go ask, invite you to a band if you had an MPC. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, nah, we don't need you. We have all that shit covered because it's live instruments,
Right.
But then just diving into beats and making beats on my own and like, I want to break from all that and just, making shit. That's like, I've always been influenced by like, Just Blaze and like, like Dilla, all these guys that were just like, man, you guys really have a dope way of making a groove, making a beat, And then I just found myself, and then of course, I'm in Miami. So if you're not in the hip hop world, you're not in the Latin world or in the EDM, you don't have a home. You don't have a home. I love this city,
bro, musically. And like right now, half my parties are hip hop, half my parties are Spanish, and I notice it, bro. Like when I do, for example, Latin parties right now, I'm playing 90 BPM. I'm playing 100 BPM. I'm going up to 120 BPM. I'm going up to 150 BPM. I can go down to 70 BPM. I could play all different types of sonics. People are receptive to it. When I play hip hop parties, I'm stuck. I'm in a box.
You got to play that next record that everyone heard. Yo, you got that new? Yeah, it's like
it's the same. It's 70. You know what I tell artists too, and they give me new music. I tell them. And I get geeky with them. I tell them if they understand tempo and shit. I'm like, you just sent me a song that's 70 BPM. If you and we're talking about if you want your song played in the club from a DJ. You sent me a song at 70 BPM. I told him if you make a song that's 105 BPM, you have probably double the chance of your song getting played in the club than you sending me a song that's 70 BPM.
Of course,
because in 70 now you're competing with Kodak. You're competing with the drill shit. You're competing with everything in that 70 because everyone's in that Mr. Me Too. They're doing
head bob,
but if you want to explore a tempo that is different and is not hitting right now, DJs want that, bro, because we don't want to be stuck in the same tempo, the same sonics the whole night.
And it really does come hand in hand, like what you do, because I remember some productions that we used to do, we'd have like this crazy pad, strings, this and that, but then it literally gives you no option on how you would blend that bitch in. You know what I mean? You don't have a consistent rhythm or something like, you can beat match and know that this side transition. So it always like throw us off because it's like, man, if we don't make music that even DJs find accessible to get in and out of this song because this song sounds, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then it's like, we're almost working against ourselves as producers, because we're like, damn, man, like, but I've heard so many songs go and you're like,
I mean, every song that gets sent to you has an intro version, you know what I'm saying? So it rather,
No, but that's sometimes where, you say to yourself, like, you know what, man, like, you go back to that. You don't know, you know what I mean? You just don't know how these things are going to get received. But I've learned, especially because, back then, people really had to work records at like, old places like, what was it? Oh God, what was that place right there off of like 119th or whatever? Just, basically like strip clubs and all these places that people try to work all these records and find a way, like Nocturnal and all these like old ways and be like, how do I, you know what I mean? So like that I always said to myself, like, damn, because everybody used to look at man, I hope a DJ can play my record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was the ultimate way of getting your shit moving.
I think producers and artists really need to like get input from DJs, bro.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
No,
I think they're
completely.
so stuck in their world, and they just think the DJ's just gonna. A lot of times, the DJ knows the void that needs to be filled and can give you some really good advice.
I can't do it, but you, like, I mean, for you, you have a whole night to DJ. You got to worry about what's going to be played in the next minute and a half to 2 minutes, like back to back. So that to me, I respect off rip because I don't think anyone can get me to. I don't know how. I mean, of course, if I get used to it, and I could do it, but to do that all night, you're sitting there watching the audience react to all these records.
Yeah,
who wouldn't have a better judgment than you as to like, no, this hits and that doesn't. You know what I mean?
And it's all cycles. So like when we're in a cycle where all the records that are popping are 70 BPM, it's cool, but your party is stagnant. It's slow. There's no energy to it. And then when there's records at 90 BPM, the party's move. You know what I'm saying? So it's you need a balance of everything, and sometimes there's a imbalance, but the artist and the producers don't know that the climate of music, there's an imbalance at the time,
But this is why, like I say, it's when you have these experiences in this business, you're acquiring information, you're acquiring data, like you're saying, experiences that really get you to say, man, you know what, this didn't work. You know what I mean? I saw the reaction that it had, so let me not try to do whatever it is in that song. That, you start understanding, like, I don't know, it just isn't the time anymore. But without that, how do you ever have a compass in this shit? You know what I mean? You don't, because you don't go out there to experience, like, man, this is what people want. It's the whole purpose of this is, what do you want more of? You know what I mean? And when it comes to a specific artist that has a fan base or not, it's a search of, man, this is what people love of me, or this is what people don't love of me.
I really liked the because it was different to me. It was a different tempo. The Kodak with King Combs.
Oh yeah,
that you don't really hear Kodak on that 96 BPM.
Well, here's the thing: he found that beat, he did it all, and then he was kind of like, all right, where do I go from here, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because it's like he was gonna write to it, and he could easily finish it, but it's just like, this is why I love the kid, because he just knew that, man, if I get so and so on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the moment, because his dad and just everything that he does. And now I remember we were in New York not that long ago, me and Poochie, walking around getting food. We walk into a random food spot. First thing you hear, dun-it.
Yeah.
Dun-it. And I was just like, what? No way. But, you just, like you said, music could be a wildfire. You never know how fast it's going to spread, how many people are going to love it, want to incorporate it on their TikToks and Reels.
I like how Kodak got on it, bro.
Yeah, no.
It was a different tempo for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's ever... I'm trying to think of a hit he's had that's been in 90 BPM. I don't think he's had like a big song.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard because when you break it down like tempos, he finds a pocket in anything. You know what I mean? Right. So it's weird because if it's a really fast beat. You know what
he had? Now that I'm thinking on top of my head, he had that was like 98.
Yeah. Now that record's huge. That one's gonna in time is gonna go diamond. But every 6-7 months we hear, oh, you could win another million.
Yeah.
You're like, what? No, how? Crazy, but bro. Like I said, you don't know how people attach themselves to these songs. You don't know what it means to them. You don't know how often they play. It's just, but that's what I said. That's the cool thing about having things like Spotify or SoundCloud. It helps you understand. I mean, SoundCloud's actually dope because it teaches you shows you the demographic of where your record's really moving. So like, shit, if it's in Atlanta, keep trying to hit promoters and find ways to be like, how do I keep working this record? Because why am I'd rather be in Atlanta than be in fucking, Chicago where the record isn't really moving, So what am I doing over there,
That's true. What is next for you, bro? Like, what is, I
mean, to tell you the truth, man, it's just keeping this thing going. You know what I mean? I think I found a good...
Kodak, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, Kodak and just, I guess my whole perspective when it comes to how I approach this music, I luckily enough can wake up and say to myself, I can do what I want to do, you know what I mean? But not necessarily feel like I'm just like wasting time, I guess. You know what I mean? Right. It's always a weird thing that if I don't make a beat today, damn, what was today? But it's always...
You're still working with Kodak, but you're also like making beats and sending packs out on the side and stuff like that?
No, it's weird. I could. People ask, but I don't. You know what I mean? I just know what I've started with him and what it's going to be and how we're working it, that I know this has always required my full attention. You know what I mean? I've gotten out of relationships to make sure that this has gone well. I've gone make sure that I've missed family birthdays and stuff to make sure this is going. I've on my own birthday we had a show in Georgia. So things I've developed a more personal meaning behind what I'm doing as from the music that I feel so content. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. I mean, it's stressful, of course. I'm not going to say like, oh my God, like it's all smiles, but I've done things over the years to really help my mentality behind how I view the industry, how I am a part of this industry, and what I expect from people. You know,
it's hard, bro, because the industry is kind of like the girlfriend who just like cheats on you, and you have to keep like.
Yeah, it's a sharky world because, you know, you can have an idea and then, you know, this person, you can write a record to your idea, but then it writes the same record to another idea, and then they use that version and it breaks your fucking heart. You know, you're like,
that's
damn, bro, you know what I mean? Bro. Yeah, I've had this together, and next thing you know, like, it's just a power play, or it's a political move, or, you know, they need to do it so they can befriend this person, you know? And I think now being with someone like Kodak, after my experiences being on the other side of the fence way before I met him, I see how now the industry plays with just sometimes like how some people come out the blue and be like, yo, man, we got a record with so-and-so. Cool, but then, you know, Yak's not the type of person to jump to every opportunity. Like, not every deal is a good deal, you know?
Right.
But to me, the best way to gauge it is like, you know, did y'all write to him when he was in jail? You know, how many court dates have y'all showed up to? You know what I mean? Like, putting in perspective, like, don't come around if you really haven't been around. You know what I mean? Especially now, after all these years that have gone by. Just don't try to, like,
How was his process? Like, as far as, does he just go through packs and like just listen for beats?
Or you know, it's funny. I stopped playing beats for him. I just show him where my beats are in the computer, and he just and goes down. But to make it, I mean, it's for me to not be so stressed out because, you know, between a lot of producers out there that are well known that are constantly sending me stuff, I always create these little box folders, and I love, like, you know, box.com. Just create these little folders for all the producers. So every time a new producer is like, you know, this person approaches me like, yo, I got a pack. Just make a folder and give it to them so it's easy as drag and drop. And that's reflected on his own. Like, he has access to the box. You know, he can see my beats, all our producers' beats from SG. You know what I mean? All the other guys that are big, you know, Metro, fucking, you know, Murder, all those guys. Like, just here. You know what I mean? Just keep flooding it, because he is not the type of person that you're going to be like, all right, sit down, let me play you some beats now. You know what I mean? It's not.
He does it on his own time, you're saying?
It's just whenever he clicks, you know? And there's times where I get into the studio with him and, like, you know, we just get there together, and he'll text me. He's like, yo, man, you know, bring this beat up that Zeus did. Bring this beat up that, you know, like Dizzy did. Bring this beat up that you did. So he'll shoot it right away. And I love it because sometimes the writing doesn't only necessarily have to happen in the studio. I don't mind it. I could sit through any, you know, session for hours and while people write. But sometimes you got to give people the benefit of the doubt that, you know, I wake up and make beats, you know, in my kitchen. You know what I mean? I wake up and do things that even if I'm like in my room and I'm hearing a beat played from the kitchen, if the snare's too loud, I don't know why, but I notice that shit easier when I'm like away, because I'm like, wait, that didn't sound right over there. You know what I mean? Like something's off. That doesn't feel like it's being received naturally. So what is it, you know? But the artists go the same way. Maybe they're just chilling on the couch in their socks and they're listening to the beat and they just want to write while watching the game. You know what I mean? So I always give people that opportunity, like, yo, just here. You know what I mean? Like,
so do you think, as far as, because then some people would say like the magic moment is like creating it in the studio, and then so just based off your experiences with Kodak, is it, you know, there's some records that have gone that have been he writes it at the crib, brings it to the studio, and then there's some records that have been in the moment made? Like,
I think it's a good half and half, because there's some records that he'll come to me and say like, yo, look what I wrote, and I'm like, yo, what? You know what I mean? That just blows your mind. But then there's times when we're in the studio and I could hear him coming up on a line, and then like he'll come across a line or a bar that I'm like, bro, that what? You know what I mean? Like, how did you even put? And it's simple, but it's just the play of the words and the way it's incorporated with the whole story. That I'm like, wow, that is so creative. You know what I mean? I always give him, like, you know, his flowers for that, because I'm like, dude, I don't like, if it's me listening to a room to a beat and you listening to a room to the beat, I could think of things. You know what I mean? But how you always approach, your creative approach, always like fascinates me. You know what I mean? But I don't know, but I mean, to me, that's why I know all I have to do is experience life and just keep making music that reflects on how I feel. And I don't feel like I'll ever do anything wrong. You know what I mean? Because back when I didn't place a beat ever, I was thinking to myself, damn, what is it about my beats that no one really wants? But when people would take my beats, then I'd think to myself, like, what am I tripping out about? You know what I mean? Like, what was I not seeing eye to eye that they see, and now maybe I am, you know? It always get me hyped, because I'm like, damn, shit, I got more of those, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, you like that? But I think now more than ever, I'm so dedicated to his career, his world, and his field, that the way it's like, man, you know, from what we've been able to accomplish from day one till now, why? You know, start from scratch anywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
you think he does it? Has he gotten any like pop shit? Like features?
I mean, the Bruno Mars record he did with Gucci Man, "Wake Up in the Sky."
Yeah,
that was that's I mean that's considered pop just because.
I'm trying to think like what's next for him, like in my mind, like, and that would just.
I mean, we got a lot of. I mean, the kid's writing movies. He's writing like the ideas, like when it comes to like. I mean, I've always told him you need to start a horror production company. I love horror, you know what I mean. But someone like him, I know he's got ideas to make like a horror film. It's the perfect world. And I'm like, but I think that's why I'm so. Dedicated to this more because I just know there's so many more lanes that we're about to like, hit and do that why, this is like something, we've been watching a plant grow from day one, I mean, and not just him, but I'm saying like a career, the music projects, things that videos, everything that goes out to the world that gets received, the way we want it to. That is worth it all. You know what I mean? And people, and there's a formula to that. You find patterns and things that, it's knowledge and information. It's going to stay with you from, to the end of your days. Like, but I'm always, like I said, from, watching older heads and people that just like have been in this business forever and, being around like, people that just, I know, just have had alternative experience in a whole different generation, shout out to Kareem. He's our video commissioner. This man's been a part of like Tupac videos, been a part of everything. So to me, sometimes I don't even care about really like what we have to do that day. I just kind of want like, Kareem, tell me about how fucking so-and-so didn't show up. And like how the whole thing went to hell. And then you had, but that's you learn things from that. You know what I mean? Because regardless of what it is you're about to be a part of, at least you have a good judgment call to know like, all right, I know how to like shift this way.
And that's dope because you went through kind of like the first half of your career, the beginning part of your career, like, Circle House Baby. And now like you finally like you're in a situation that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you had all that experience before to like prepare you for this situation. Like if this situation would have happened earlier in your career, maybe it wouldn't have happened the way it's happening now,
I feel like it's always been a spark. My older sister, she's like 4 years older than me. She played piano since she was like, and she's been singing since she was like 4 or 5 years old. So, I was always been younger. So I tried piano, I tried guitar, but drums is where I was like, this is my home. You know what I mean? I love hitting shit. So and ironically, my older brother, one of his closest friends was Ashley Gibb, and Ashley Gibb's father is Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees. So, I mean, I never was as close as my brother was, but, at times when we go to like, Ashley's house, I go to, Barry's house and see the pictures of Barbra Streisand, Michael Jackson, like legends, you know what I mean? People that if you give a shit about music, this is who you should be looking up to. They're the ones that literally have paved the way from nothing. From
when
nothing,
I go to my uncle,
you know what I mean?
Like my godfather's house, Casey and the Sunshine Band is who I was like named after, And bro.
But it's interesting because it's like, look at their experiences, look at everything it took for them to get to where they are, to how we know them. Even like, I love Lunch's, family, Inner Circle, and them. The records they come across, like it's the most iconic, timeless song sometimes that you don't realize that it's a part of your own type of upbringing, Yeah. But that's like I said, I never really felt like I was going to go wrong just listening to the people that have done it before me, Like how could you? You have experience that they don't have, you know what I mean? They have experience that you don't have, and vice versa. So that's why I love like, just being around people that have, been in this world of like, man, you want to hear some shit like back then when so-and-so, and it just somehow it all applies to today.
I'd rather, as much as I talk, I prefer to listen because that's how that's
even why I got into engineering. Because like I said, man, I could be on the fly on the wall. I don't give a shit about talking to anybody. I'm not going to play beats for anybody. I don't care. But for you to completely forget I'm sitting in the room listening, that was like my, I love that shit because I was in the rooms that I was like, man, shit going down. And like, I'm hearing these conversations that I'm like, man, like I said, you're in the room with some people, like, when you're in the room with like people is only two people in the room, that's the conversations and information that will never. I love Busta Rhymes' stories, by the way. Like Busta Rhymes, every time you're in the studio with that man, he's got amazing, him, Fat Joe.
Fat Joe's.
They have
my
stories.
longest DJ drop ever is Busta Rhymes. It's a 40-second drop. I'm like, yo, Bus, can I get a drop? He goes to the mic. He's like, hey, yo, pay attention. When I'm in Miami and I'm in the car and I got the sun shining on the rim and it's a beautiful day with palm trees, and bro, he did like a 40-second thing. Then he said, I'm with Casey Chops. And I'm like, yo, that's the firest drop I've ever gotten, bro.
No, man. I love it though, man. Like they said, this business, it's just all about experiences. You know what I mean? So why not welcome it all, the good and the bad.
Bro, Dyryk, plug all your social media. You spell Dyryk a certain way, so make sure it takes me like 20 times to type your name in Instagram.
I know. I do it because it's like, my name is Dyryk G. Dyryk Garcia. There's another Dyryk G out there. So I'm like, and it's funny. This is why I love, people that have been like Lou Diaz. He showed me this thing years ago where he was just like, man, it's the art of marketing, you know what I mean? So every time you type in the best mix engineer, Lou Diaz's webpage pops up immediately, right? So I'm like, damn, how'd you do that? So he's like, you just got to keep incorporating things, you know, consistency, continuity, right? So I don't know how I came across this, but I found out that was a way to spell Dyryk, which honestly, I don't really, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Which
it's
way?
Like Dyryk, the way I spell it.
So for the people listening, Dyryk, if you want to find Dyryk, Kodak Black's
on
engineer.
all social media. But it was crazy because I started incorporating that with everything because it wasn't taken. Now, after all these years of keep using that type of like, you know, title, it's like literally the first 4 pages of Google now. You know what I mean? Like no one can compare of like anything that has to do with that because you build like your own lane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, yeah, it's Dyryk. It's not how I spell it. But, you know, it's just, you know, stamp. But yeah, man, I appreciate you, man, for doing this. And I always told you with this podcast you got going on, man, you got to keep it going.
Thanks, bro. Trying to do something new on the media side, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Of course, man. I'm always
here.
Yes,
sir. Dyryk, appreciate
of course.
you, doggy.
Thank you, man.
Later, bro.